The hospital room was silent except for the faint beep of monitors struggling to keep pace with life itself. The air was thick with antiseptic and tension. 15 doctors, each one the best in their field, hovered around the massive figure of the mafia boss, his face pale and drenched in sweat, veins standing out like cords under his skin. He groaned, a low, ragged sound that made the seasoned doctors exchange worried glances. "We've done everything," one said, voice tight with frustration. "The internal bleeding won't stop, and his heart rate, it's dropping fast." Another shook his head. "At this point, nothing will work. He's too far gone." Outside the room, the mobsters pacing the corridor felt the weight of helplessness pressing down on them. They had seen their leader handle everything: guns, betrayals, even death. But now, lying motionless on a hospital bed, he seemed fragile, human. One of them muttered, almost under his breath, "If he dies, it's not just him. The family falls apart." Meanwhile, a soft sound emerged from the entrance. The door creaked open, and in stepped a woman in simple scrubs. She carried herself with quiet confidence, her presence immediately pulling attention. Her hair was tied neatly, and her hands, though small, seemed steady, capable. The doctors paused, irritation flashing across their faces. "We don't need any more help," the chief physician snapped. "We've tried everything." The woman smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. "I might see something you don't," she said, her voice calm, measured, almost hypnotic in its steadiness. The mafia boss let out a weak cough, barely audible over the machines, and a nurse checked his vitals again. "His oxygen levels, they're falling. If we don't act." "Let me try," the woman interrupted, moving closer to the bed. Her eyes scanned the monitors, her fingers hovering just above the boss's chest. There was no hesitation in her movements, only precision, as if she already knew the rhythm of life itself. The chief physician's eyes narrowed. "This isn't obstetrics. You deliver babies, you're not a trauma surgeon." "I've delivered more lives than you can count," she replied softly, her gaze never leaving the boss. "And I know when a life is about to slip away. Sometimes, all it takes is seeing the problem differently." The room fell silent. Even the monitors seemed to pause, waiting. She placed her hands on his chest, feeling the irregular heartbeat beneath her fingers. "Internal pressure here," she murmured, pressing gently, guiding, coaxing. "We need to stabilize him, but it's not just medicine. It's timing, touch, and focus." A nurse whispered to one of the doctors, "Is she doing something?" The doctor shook his head, unable to comprehend. 15 years of training, thousands of cases, yet here was a woman who had never handled a mafia boss. And yet somehow, she moved with certainty. She grabbed a small, unseen instrument from a nearby tray, her movements swift and deliberate. A soft hiss of air, a faint pulse of energy, and slowly, the boss's chest began to rise more evenly. His color shifted, a slight flush returning to his cheeks. "What did you do?" the chief doctor demanded, a mix of awe and anger in his voice. "Sometimes," she said, her eyes never leaving his, "the body responds to someone who believes it can. Fear weakens it, calm strengthens it." A lab technician checked the readings. "His heart, it's stabilizing. Blood pressure is normalizing. Oxygen levels, he's improving." The mafia boss groaned again, deeper this time, and opened his eyes. Confusion, pain, and recognition flashed across his face. "Who?" he croaked. The woman smiled gently. "Someone who wanted to help." His mobster bodyguard stepped forward, hesitant, protective. "What did you do to him?" one demanded. "Nothing harmful," she said. "Just helped him remember how to fight." Her hands lingered near his chest for a moment longer. Then she stepped back. The doctors, once skeptical, now looked on in stunned silence. One muttered, "I've never seen anything like this." Another whispered, "She saved him." Outside, the tension melted slightly. The men who had been pacing with clenched fists now relaxed, though their eyes remained watchful, trying to comprehend how this small, calm woman had done what 15 top surgeons could not. The mafia boss coughed again, weaker than before, then tried to sit up. His breathing was steadier now, his pulse stronger. "You saved me," he whispered, disbelief mingled with gratitude. She nodded, a quiet affirmation. "You've got more life to live. Don't waste it." A young nurse, watching from the corner, whispered, "She's a miracle worker." The chief physician finally stepped forward, humility replacing arrogance. We underestimated you." She shook her head. "No one underestimates life itself. You just have to know how to listen to it." The boss's eyes, sharp again, assessed her carefully. "You're different. Not like anyone I've ever met." "I've seen a lot of beginnings," she replied softly. "And sometimes, a beginning is exactly what someone who thinks they're at the end needs." He exhaled, the fight in his eyes returning. The room, once heavy with despair, now pulsed with a cautious hope. The mafia boss, who had faced death countless times, now realized that sometimes survival came not from power, wealth, or guns, but from a touch, a calm mind, and someone who knew how to bring life where it seemed lost. The woman straightened, ready to leave. "He'll be fine now. But remember this: life is fragile, even for those who think they are untouchable." As she walked toward the door, the boss tried to speak again, but the words failed him. His guard stepped closer, protective yet curious. The woman paused at the threshold, giving a final, reassuring smile, then disappeared down the corridor. The machines beeped steadily, rhythm returning to normal. 15 doctors, once confident in their superiority, now stared in disbelief. And the mafia boss, still weak but alive, realized that the most unexpected person had just rewritten his fate. Outside the hospital room, the sun was setting, casting long shadows and painting the city in hues of gold and red. A life that should have ended had been saved, not by skill alone, but by intuition, courage, and the quiet power of someone who delivered life daily, and now had delivered a man from the brink of death. The room was filled with a strange, reverent silence. The mafia boss closed his eyes for a moment, heart still racing, mind alive with the shock of survival. He knew, deep down, that he owed the rest of his life to someone he never expected, and that sometimes true power wasn't in the fists or weapons, but in the hands that knew how to bring life where it seemed impossible. And somewhere down the corridor, the woman walked away, leaving behind a room full of astonishment, gratitude, and the unspoken acknowledgement that she had done the impossible.